Ready, go. So now we're going to learn about the tact. This is the next operant for the using ABCs to teach verbal behavior. So to review, just like a man, the tact is a type of verbal behavior that is defined by the circumstances under which it occurs and by the consequence that it produces. So for a tact, I gotta get out my pointer. So for tact, for tact, that's in echoic. For tact, the antecedent is something in the non-verbal environment. It could really be anything. The behavior is the corresponding name that goes with this, or it could be like quality, like if you're seeing something that's red and you say red, that's still tact. And then the consequence is generalized condition reinforcement, which we'll go into detail about what that is. So something in the non-verbal environment, the antecedent for a tact, it could be something you see, hear, taste, smell, touch. So if I'm walking down the street and I go like, ugh, fish, because I smell fish, that's a tact. If I hear something and I say like, good grief, that rumbling is so loud, that's a tact. If I say this tastes delicious, that's a tact. If I say this stinks, that's a tact. And if I touch something and go like, oh, it's kind of rough, that's tact. Or if I say like, oh, I think I feel a fish in here. I don't know why I keep talking about fish. The only real rule, like we talked about, the environment includes other things other people say and do, but for a tact, as long as it's not someone else's verbal behavior, that's what you're looking at. So if I say, if Courtney says like, Hannah, what did you have for lunch yesterday? And I say a hamburger, I would never eat a hamburger, a cheeseburger.
Let's be for real.
Let's be serious. And I say a cheeseburger, that's not a tact because I'm not in contact with the cheeseburger right now, and I'm responding to Courtney's question, which is uncomfortable. So something, and then again, it can be an actual person or a place or thing, or it could be a feature or quality, or even like an action. Like if I say like, oh, look at all these people running past us, there must be a marathon, that's a tact, because I'm tacting, well, I said people, never mind. If I said like, well, no, I can't think of an example. Like I always want to say the person, but you can tact actions is what I'm trying to say. So it could be also a feature quality action. So like this fork, it has like go features of the fork.
Oh, prongs. It's white.
I was going to say tines.
They're both
Tines,
white.
it's white, it's plastic.
Yeah.
It's non-biodegradable.
Yeah, those are all tacts.
It's not a
I don't
spoon.
know.
Does that count? They
Yes.
said that?
I think so. That's a tricky one. Just side note. Stop. Don't overthink it. Like Courtney. I think it is a tact. So what is GCR? It's generalized condition reinforcer, which sounds like beyond this training and you're hearing it right now, like we don't have to really worry about this. Like everything you know about reinforcement is already sufficient. This is just kind of to talk about tact, echoic, and intraverbal all have this as the reinforcement. So generalized means, basically it means it's the opposite of a man where it's not specific. So with a man, you want something specific that you just said. With the tact, you're not really looking for anything specific, but you're behaving, so there should be a reinforcer. So it could be something as simple as like a nod, or like, social confirmation, or continuation of a conversation, or avoidance of a punishment, something that is not tied to any kind of motivation. So a good example is, usually for tact it's not money, but money is a generalized condition reinforcer, because only if, say your snowboard broke, now you want a new snowboard. But if you have a snowboard, you don't want a new snowboard. So you have to want the snowboard for it to be a reinforcer. Money, you don't have to like you always want money because it can meet a variety of needs. Same thing with generalized reinforcers. They're always good. So basically, like attention and praise are like, you never get too awfully sick of them. It never really hurts. So it's usually praise, attention, social approval, even if it's just something that seems so subtle. That is what reinforces our behavior a lot of the time. Condition means that basically that it's learned. So all that means is that you did not come out of the womb wanting money.
I beg to
Like you didn't come out of the womb being like, oh, you told me good job. Like you learn these things through your experiences. And reinforcer, hopefully by now you know what that means. So basically understanding the tact, just like an easy way to think of a man is a request, an easy way to think of a tact is like a label for something or a comment, and basically just know that it's not a request. Like if they're asking for something and want that thing and it will be reinforcing, then it's not tact. So why is tacting important? Number one, it allows us to communicate about our environment. So if someone says like, hey Hannah, what's the weather like out there? It's raining out there. I can say like, oh, it's raining, and then now we have a useful conversation where that person can put on their raincoat. It also, you can tact about yourself. You can say like, I feel sad, I feel sick, my stomach hurts, my tooth hurts. You're the only one that can do that, but sometimes that information ends up being really important for health, safety, survival, relationships. So when you get into more sophisticated tacting, it turns into, it's the basis for commenting on things. So like when I talked about that toddler that's like, ball, and like so happy to be pointing at the ball and saying like, yes, that's a ball, I know what it is, look at me show off all my skills, mom. And mom is like, yes, it is a ball, baby. What that turns into is like, oh hey, that they must be opening a new restaurant there, I wonder if it'll be good. And it's like, oh yeah, we should go sometime. So that's kind of like the tacting, single word tacting, that when you're learning it as like a new person that's talking like a toddler, that's what it turns into. So tacting is a lot of what allows us to engage in conversation, because those initial bids for a conversation, or like initial conversation starting comments, a lot of times are like, oh, I feel so tired today, and that's a tact. Or something crazy happened this morning, that's a tact, because you're talking about your day. And so these social initiations, a lot of times they're based on tacts, and tacts happen throughout a conversation. And being able to know the names of things obviously helps you function in your life if you know how to talk about your environment and talk about what's going on. Like for example, a lot of kids who are nonverbal, well, this is not technically a tact, but a lot of times a kid will come home and say, I got in a fight with my friend today, or like, look, I have a scrape. And that's how they tell their parents. It's kind of almost a combination with a man, but it's how their parents help meet their needs. And like, if you can't do this, then you run into problems and behaviors. So how to teach a tact? Unlike a man has kind of like a unique teaching procedure. But teaching tacting usually looks a lot like the teaching procedures that you guys already know. So basically, a lot of times you use an echoic prompt, and you say like, what is this? Fork. Yeah, it's a fork. What's this?
Spoon.
No, what is this?
Pencil.
Yes! So it's the same procedure. You're using, a lot of times the easiest thing, if the kid echoes, which hopefully they do, because otherwise it's really hard to teach tacts, you just use a verbal echoic prompt, and then you fade it, and then that's how you do it. So considerations while you're teaching tacting, you want to be heading down that road of going towards social commenting, because if you can say like, what's this, what's this, what's this, what's this, what's this, what's this. Like some kids, you can point to literally anything in the room. They have thousands and thousands of tacts, and then they sit silent all the time. So this is that initiation thing again. So you want to teach towards that. So you want to go towards spontaneity. I'm sorry, here. Spontaneity. And you kind of want to teach them what are the conditions when you make comments, because I can tact things, but that doesn't mean that I go around like walk into a room and say clock, wall, Courtney, Amanda, water bottle. So it's actually a really sophisticated skill that commenting skill. So some things you can kind of do just to work on this are when you're, instead of like, what is this? What is this? Yes, it is. What is this? If you mix in, drop the what is this. So that, and then what is this? What about this? And then you're showing things, and now they're just responding to that object or picture. And so that's like one little step closer to an initiation and actually responding to something in their environment, rather than responding. The what is this is almost like a prompt. Even though sometimes it's not, because sometimes it's a genuine instruction, but you know, if you want someone to come in and say like, oh my gosh, there's balloons in here, that's like that's what you want. So discriminating comment-worthy events, eventually you want to teach them to comment on things that are out of the ordinary. So you start with teaching tacts like, what's this? It's a spoon, it's candy, it's a bag, it's a computer, and eventually maybe you take them, and you want to teach them to respond to comments of somebody else. So you take them in a room and there's a box of Legos, but you put dinosaurs in there, and then you also put like rubber bugs. So you take them, you say like, let's play Legos, and then you say, there's dinosaurs in the Legos, and then you prompt them to say like, and there's bugs in the Legos. So that's like, because that is comment worthy. Or you can try these situations where things are out of the ordinary. Like maybe you wait until you see a bug on the ground, and then you say like, prompt them to say like, ew, a bug. Or like if you see an airplane flying by, you say like, look what like whatever prompting strategy you're using. Maybe it's just your own comment. Maybe you're actually like verbally prompting them to say it, like an airplane, or like, look at that car driving on the sidewalk, or like there's balloons in this room. So part of this involves these situations can be hard and awkward to contrive, but you can do it like a lot of times by putting things in the wrong place. Or sometimes you just have to keep your eye out for them. What's awesome about Meaningful Day is we go on community outings, and this is like the perfect way to do this natural tactings, because you will see things in the community. Another good thing is electronics and iPad and computer, which have this like really non-social, yucky edge to them, where it's like they're so reinforcing, but it's like, yeah, go sit on the computer alone and engage in basically like, you know, self-simulatory behavior. But if you've ever played those like iPad app games, like the little, like there's the salon one, and like anything that's meant to be entertainment, like those commenting opportunities are there because they're meant to be entertaining. So instead of just letting your kid like go on the computer and sit there, like turn it into, number one, tacting that's turning into like the really good kind of tacting, and number two, now it's social. So you can kind of say like, oh whoa, like model it, like point out things, and you can even either use like a whiteboard, or you can say like, tell me something that you think is cool about this, or like tell me why it's crazy. And so you can start to get towards this, because if we only ever do like, what's this, what's this, what's this, what's this, we don't, all we get are these kids who can name anything you point to, but they never initiate any kind of like interaction or conversation. So yeah, community outings are huge for spontaneous tacking, and you don't have to take data on it. It's just something, sometimes you're like, what am I gonna do with my kid on this community outing? But some places we go are like, you know, we go to a petting zoo, and like there's plenty of stuff comment worthy. Like you're like, the goat pooped.
It's the world.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff.
Yeah, it's the world. So you just have to kind of like open your eyes to those opportunities. And yeah. Considerations for teaching tactics. So sometimes you can confuse it with a man. This I'm not going to demonstrate because I was talking about that that, like,
Am I?
what letter where it wasn't actually a man. So advanced tacting. Once we get past just like, we start with like just objects. You'll see it's like objects 1 through 10 in our thing, and that's kind of like the first level of like, can I identify what things are? And then, so say somebody came up and said like, I had a crazy morning. What are all the things that you could say about, like, describe a crazy morning? Not a real one, not today.
My car wouldn't start and it was raining and I couldn't get a hold of my wife to come help me.
Oh.
That'd be terrible.
See, like, raining is like an action. Well, yeah, it's action. Car starting, the function of a car. The car wouldn't, what the car did. You couldn't call negatives. So if you're gonna like really talk to people, you need a much. You can't just be like car,
Call.
bad, wife, like call. You know, you need to have like more sophisticated
You would call
skills.
that a trauma. Okay.
Bad.
So-
Why?
Stroke? Like, are you having one?
So tacting objects only get you so far. We also teach tacting by feature or function in class. So for example, what are features of this?
Times, it's white.
It's hokey.
Yeah. One time I asked a kid what I was like, do you know what this is? It was a stapler. He was like, chompy. Well,
Sort of. Sort
like,
of.
good try. What's the function of this?
Helps you eat.
Multifunctional item.
It's a cereal.
Stabber, and so like what do you do with things, and then what class is it part of?
It's a
Utensil.
Eating utensil. So all these things are things of like that they're, things that you want to be able to talk about. You also want to be able to talk about actions. You want to be able to talk about relationships, like prepositions, like over, under, above, on, in between, things like that. And you want to get towards tacting in full sentences. So you want to, instead of saying like, what is it, fork? You want to be like, this is a fork. That's a fork. Or like, that's a white fork.
It's a plastic fork.
So one thing you can do, this is another thing that's just like, you have your prompting that, you have your programming that's like that feature function class programming, and then in your free time on breaks, you have like, what is it? Tell me about this. So you're working on descriptive fluency, but you're not like, what is it? Fork. Good job. It's like, tell me something about this.
It's white.
What else?
It's a white fork.
What
and
else?
It's pointy and
What
I
else?
use it to eat.
What
and
else? What else?
I'd rather use my fingers.
What else? I know. But like, you get that like, you want the fluency, because if you have to wait 3 seconds for him to say like fork or like white, then that's not how people talk. People talk like, I had this crazy day, it was morning, my car wouldn't start, it was awful, it was raining. Like, how many words did I just say? So you want to go for fluency. We just demonstrated it. And this is something that's also very easy to practice during breaks and outings and social, because you don't have to take data on it. Yeah. Especially you could even make it fun and like draw a crazy thing that's like a made up thing. Be like, what do you think this is? What would you do with it? Like, remember reading Rainbow? It would take something and be like,
Don't take my word.
what
for
is it? Don't take my word for it. So this is a good time to point out that on paper, these verbal operants fall into neat categories where we said like, a man is a want, a need, it's a request, and specific reinforcement. A tact is something in the environment, blah, blah, blah. However, that's not really true. Of course, there's like a lot of things going on in the environment at all times. So you can have these weird conversations. Like if I said like, I sure am hungry, is that a man or tact? I don't know. Yeah, or maybe I'm saying like, let's go out to eat.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's this weird combination. Real intraverbal is like answering questions. So if I said like, what is this? Like you're in contact with the environment, but you're also answering my verbal behavior. So it's like this weird combination. We usually think about it as a tact because it's like, let's not get into this. That's why I said earlier to Courtney and her, it's not a spoon. Don't overthink it. You can even get into like same thing if you say like, hey, what do you want? Is that an intraverbal or is it a man? It's kind of both. So you get these word combinations, but don't worry about it. Basically, you know, we want to teach our kids to request things politely, and we want to teach them to comment and label things and answer questions. So for attack, the antecedent is nonverbal, something in the environment. It's basically a label or a comment about something. And the reinforcement is generalized condition reinforcer, which means just usually praise or social recognition. And tacting is a prerequisite for conversation, especially advanced tacting. So while it might seem kind of silly that you're like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Like, how does this benefit this kid to know all these things? Just that program alone, no. But when you combine it with all these, like, our outings and our rotations, then you do have a chance to like actually help them implement. And you're working towards conversation. If you got that.